Welcome. I am so grateful to share this space with you today. My name is Jacqueline Carrier. I'm an EFT practitioner, an emotional literacy mentor, and also the founder of Tapped In for Life, which provides emotional literacy tools, knowledge, practices to youth, both directly and through parents, caretakers, and educators. The topic today, feeling the feelings without fearing the fear. That is something I feel completely on a cellular level. I left corporate life to focus on this specifically the last 10 years. And I just wanted to ask you guys, the first thing that comes to your mind when I say feeling the feelings, what happens inside of you? What happens? Do you constrict? Do you roll your eyes and say, oh, feelings, we're talking about feelings? Do you feel like if you tap into your own, you're going to cry and literally like flood the earth with your tears because it will never stop? Do you feel like if you're angry, all of a sudden you're going to lose control, you're going to hurt someone, hurt yourself, you just won't be able to stop. You're in this like mode, right? Uncontrollable mode. This is a big one that I hear a lot is, right, if I cry, if I get frustrated, if I get mad, they win. Whatever has risen up inside of you from an experience, place, person, thing, whatever it is, right? All of a sudden that wins. You're weak. You can't stand up to that. Right? Kids, right? Kids that are angry, right? We label them as bad kids instead of realizing there's something inside that's crying out, right? Bad kids, right? Or kids, right? All of a sudden, it's a child and it's like, have you ever heard this one? All of a sudden it's like, what do you have to be mad about? You're a kid. Go eat ice cream or go outside, right? We have this disconnection, this quick rush to like run from any kind of feeling. And I'm not blaming anybody. Like no one taught us, most of us, how to sit with discomfort with ourselves or with others, right? We quick want to fix it, right? We don't want to feel discomfort. We don't want them to feel bad. We don't want them to feel like, oh, right? We rush people to joy as fast as we can. That feels better. And again, not judging this, I experienced in my own life growing up. I remember, feelings were tough. People didn't talk about it. I grew up late 70s, early 80s. And for me, I learned really early on, feelings aren't safe. If you cause conflict, if you speak up, if you cry and you're mad, frustrated, people will leave. My parents got divorced when I was 10, right? They'll leave forever if you cause conflict. I grew up with my father, struggled with the illness of alcoholism. And he was really had this infectious laugh and be really fun, but on a flick of a dime would also be very scary and very aggressive. So me, as a young kid, I was always scanning for threat, right? Keep everybody safe. Right? Know when to talk, not to walk. Know when to talk, not to talk. Know, when to walk in, when not to walk in. I was the youngest of three, but I was very much a protector, right? Keep everybody joyful, keep everybody on high, keep everybody happy here, because Lord forbid, if we actually feel what we're feeling, we might get in a really bad situation. So now I didn't hold any anger towards my dad. I understood the life he grew up in. I understood the family that he was around. And to his credit, he was not to be as aggressive. He chose not to be as abusive as what he grew up in. And that was a shift for him in a wonderful direction. And he did get support and change his behavior. So I got to see how that kind of all is possible to elevate. And the thing, though, is because I wasn't angry, I thought I escaped unscathed, right? I'm resilient. I can handle things in life because, to be honest, our family was no exception to any other family, especially at that time, right? Insert another challenge into the family, and that's the other families around us, right? We all have stuff, but no one talked about it. And because I wasn't angry about it, I thought, oh, I didn't have to share anything. I could just like hide that stuff away, right? And just like tuck it away until I saw it all of a sudden surface in my relationships in life. I would run from conflict at all costs, and I would slowly shrink, right? Slowly tuck away the little things. I didn't speak up. I would talk and support anyone around me I felt that had some kind of injustice. But when it was for me, feeling our feelings, that's dangerous. That causes people to leave. That causes people to choose really destructive behaviors. We don't do that. Well, I got a swift kick to the Solar plexus when I was 39. I was married. I had my second child. I had two kids under two at the time. I lived a fit, healthy life. I was working. And when my daughter was 6 months old, I ended up having a blood clot in the brain. It took away my vision for a few months. And as that dissipated, I ended up having two herniated discs in my cervical spine. Okay, and then 2 months after that, so within 4 months, those two things happened. And then I got diagnosed with stage 3 melanoma, very aggressive cancer. And that was my complete leveled me at my knees. And I just was gifted these beautiful two babies. I wasn't supposed to be able to carry them to term. I did beautifully. And then I was going to be taken away. I wasn't angry, but I was heartbroken. You know, I might not live for them to even remember who I was. They're 2 years old and under. Woo! So that totally shifted me onto this healing path, on this healing journey. I left my corporate life aside. I went. At first, I started with nutrition, right? Everyone says nutrition and mindfulness. So I went and got certified in holistic nutrition. And then I discovered some other modalities. And then I found EFT, emotional freedom technique. I became a practitioner. And I thought, my God, where did all these things exist? I've never heard of half of this stuff before. And they're really powerful. So what I did is I started to mentor cancer survivors and caregivers. It was what was really close to my heart right then. And as I'm working with these incredible people, you know, they're in their 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and navigating life after treatment. And the one common thread through all of them, I don't care their age, their diagnosis, their socioeconomic status in life, they all had one thing, both caregivers and survivors, that they really, really needed. And it was the permission to feel and to identify what they were feeling. They didn't have the words. You become associated with yourself and other things besides just simply surviving. So, right, my caregivers, they were mad, they were angry, they felt overwhelmed, they felt overburdened, but Lord forbid they say that. They can't say that. They're trying to help their loved one survive. So they bottle it up inside and they stay strong, right? Our survivors, our cancer survivors, they just want to have a crappy day. They want to not be strong for a little bit. They're hurting, or they just, don't feel good. And everyone's telling them, be strong, don't give up. And if you have a bad day, all of a sudden they're afraid you're going to be depressed. And I get that, but no one has the permission to feel what they're feeling in the moment. We just haven't been taught how to sit with someone in that space and not trying to fix it and rush them to joy really quickly. We invalidate people's feelings by not being able to sit with them and rush them and find solutions really quick. So as that happened, I thought, I understand this. I can see this. And why are we not putting this in the tools of our youth, of more people, right? So I'm gonna step aside for a moment, and I'm gonna go in to see what's happening in our brain. What's happening in our brain with these emotions and these feelings, right? We're born with these neurons, right? These neurons that are gonna carry this information. And the neurons themselves don't expand rapidly over time, but between them do. It's like a tree that has all these branches. And by the time we're 3, there's trillions of these connections, all this information that there's from our environment, from our experiences, from from people around us. And these circuits are either being strengthened, they're being weakened by just not using them, right? So we have these resilience circuits in our brain, right? They give us hope. We understand things are temporary. It creates possibilities. We can kind of pick ourselves up, right? And there's also these reactive circuits that kind of keep us in our reptilian brain, our survivor brain, or the only thing is just like, keep me alive, right? There's danger behind me. I'm just trying to stay alive. So by the time we're 14, our brain has so much information, it starts to prune what we're not using, right? So we start to prune these circuits, the ones that aren't being used, and just think, if we're in an environment where we have pretty good support, yes, things happen, but we have people that are guiding us through it, right? And we have a tendency to kind of bounce back. And then you have this other brain here that has some really stressful situations going on. There isn't a lot of support in navigating how to get through it. Nothing's different. Just some different circuits are being strengthened where others are not, right? Still skills that we're learning in both, just different circuitry that's getting strengthened. And so what happens is, like, we're creating our own set points of being able to deal with stress, right? The ones that stay, that aren't pruned, whichever circuits, that's what our brain says, okay, we need this. This has kept you alive, right? So we're imprinting this chemical process into our, this response to stress. We're imprinting that into us as life goes on. It becomes our default. If it worked yesterday, we can do it today. Part of our brain, it doesn't assess like, was that a good choice or not a good choice? It just says it kept you alive. Guess what? We're going to do it again. It's a viable option. So that's kind of the things going on inside, right? Now let's talk about what this looks like in real life. We can't see inside of our brain. So what does this look like as we're just going on with real life? Well, we have an experience and we have an emotion, right? Does anyone, what would you say is the difference between emotion and feelings? Just shout it out. We have an experience. There's an emotion, right? An emotion is the somatic response. It's chemicals being released in the body. Sweaty palms, right? It's a ball in the throat when we want to speak up when we don't. Something happens and our face turns red, we're embarrassed, right? Our heart starts racing. We have a tight chest, our stomach hurts. We think about something. Those are somatic responses. Those are our emotions. Feelings are the stories that we're telling ourselves about those emotions, right? I'm sad, so this means I'm weak. I'm mad, this means I'm out of control. I'm upset, so that means I'm over emotional, right? These are just stories we're making up about chemicals that are happening in our body. What happens is, okay, there's an experience, we have an emotion, we have a feeling, we're creating a story because of that emotion, right? And that becomes our inner dialogue, right? I'm quiet, so I must be shy. I'm too much, I'm not enough. I deserve this. I'm not worth it, right? And so then we create our actions. We do things based on this inner dialogue, right? We're in the classroom, we raise our hand, we're confident, or we don't, right? What if I'm wrong? We're at work, we have a brilliant idea, right? Do we bring it up? No. They're going to think it's stupid, right? And so we create our experiences, our reality, our perception of reality based on these stories we're telling ourselves, right? And now we're in this loop: experience, emotion, feelings, inner dialogue. We're going in this kind of hamster wheel. And if I'm gonna go back to emotions, think of this, right? If you really latched on the fact that emotions are chemicals in our body, they're energy moving through our body that need a place to go. That's empowering. That's empowering. That creates some space between us and some function happening in our body, right? So now we can become an observer of what's going on. We don't have to react really fast, right? Get mad really fast, get sad really fast. We now have some space. Right? This observance creates some curiosity versus judgment. Well, that's interesting. They did that and this rose something inside of me. Oh, what does that mean? Right? We stop with the survivor kind of reptilian part of our brain. We give that a break. We give enough distance, so now all of a sudden we're moving up, right? To higher level thinking. Now we can tap into a little bit of solving. Gives us just enough space to break that circuit cycle that they're constantly nourishing before. That's empowering. So once we got that, it was like, whoa, but still we're terrified to feel, right? Because we only know what we know. We only know what we know. And so we need something to interrupt. We need something to interrupt this default cycle that we're in. And that's where EFT, emotional freedom technique, came in for me and my whole healing process. That's why I became a practitioner. It was so powerful. It combines the somatic and cognitive elements that we were talking about above when we were talking about the brain. For emotional freedom technique. It started from something called TFT, thought field therapy, back in the 70s, and it was adapted to be more accessible and easier to remember how to do for just the mainstream folks. And think of it like acupuncture, but without the needles. No needles here. So the needles become your fingers. So what happens is we tap on the end of energy meridian points that correlate to different systems and organs in our body. And as we're tapping on these points, accessing a stress circuit, AKA an emotion. I'm angry, I'm sad, right? As we're tapping on these points. And by tapping on these points while we're in the emotion, while we're feeling, I'm upset that this happened. I can't believe that he did that, right? We're accessing that emotion in real time right now. As we're tapping, we calm the amygdala down. That's a part of our brain that is responsible for the fight, flight, freeze, right? We all know that. But as we're tapping, it de-escalates that fight, flight, freeze response. So now your body is saying, wait a minute, I'm angry, right? I'm upset. My heart rate isn't going up. I don't have sweaty palms. I feel kind of calm. Okay. So it's like, wow, okay. And then we start to say statements while we're tapping to rewire our association with the event, the emotion, the thing that, provokes something within us. What this does, this is what's powerful. It updates that stress circuit, and that stress circuit now becomes a resilience circuit. How cool is that? Pretty beautiful. And it doesn't have to be some big, massive toxic stress. It's not about reprogramming like horrible memories and stuff. It doesn't have to do with just that. It's not, it doesn't have to do with just big, gigantic addiction and abuse and those types of things. It could be someone cut you off in traffic. You woke up late and now you're late for a meeting. Your daughter left her lunch at home, so now you have to go back home, drop it off at school, and now you're late for something, right? These are normal stresses that happen. We're human, like it's just stuff that happens during our day. This works also in those situations. That's what's really powerful. It also works, and this is what was just like bing, 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 all the things went off in my brain with ideas. I used it on my son. He had trouble regulating, when he was really frustrated or angry. He just didn't know what to do with himself. And so he was only 5, I believe, at the time. And so he sat next to me. I said, do you want mommy to tap? And so like that. So he sat next to me and I started tapping. I didn't even say anything out loud. He wasn't saying anything. I just started tapping on the points. In my mind, I was saying, various things. And within a few minutes, you could feel, it was like, you could feel it just drip off of him, the frustration, the anger, and his whole being changed. If you're a parent, you know how powerful that is. That's outstanding. So I also know on a physical level, and this I had to test. I actually did it because I wanted to prove it wrong. I was sitting in my carpool lane to pick up the kids. And I was listening to an EFT session. He was working with someone that had a car accident or something. And I thought, well, I'm going to work on my shoulder. I had 2 surgeries. I had no range of motion. It was excruciating pain all the time. And I thought, well, let me just use my experience. As he's talking, I'm going to talk through my own stuff. And I swear to you, not in the car, in that one session, all of a sudden, full range of motion in my arm, no pain. It never returned. I've always had full range since then. I got out of my car. I did a jig. I was like, woo! People thought I was crazy. Didn't care. And that just, those two and my son and my arm, I was like, that sealed the deal for me. I was like, are you kidding me? This is beyond powerful. And there's been proven benefits. There's many hundreds of studies that have proven it works for stress reduction. It works for improved focus, reduced anxiety, post-traumatic stress, better sleep. I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on and on. Progress out of depression. It works for learning disorders, bedwetting. I've used it for snoring. I mean, it's because it's all attached to just the emotion, the stories that we're creating around some event, person, place, thing, smell, whatever it is. It's really powerful. And it also can set us up for success. If you're going into a situation that, going into a big room of people, you're not a person that likes a big room of people, you can tap. I know I'm really anxious right now, but I completely love and accept myself. Woo, I can feel my palms start sweating. I can believe, you go through the process. Then we start, with the other statements. It takes 2 minutes. You can do it in your car, in the bathroom. They've even proven now that you can think about tapping on yourself and it can have the same effect. I'll take that over any invasive treatment. So thankfully, and this is the passion of mine, there are a lot of schools that have adopted EFT into their classrooms. It's easy, it's effective, it's easy to work into a lesson plan, doesn't really adjust very much. It helps with overwhelm. It helps with test anxiety. It helps with increasing focus. It helps with, kids are in a worrying situation. It's socially, right? Do I fit in? Are they going to like me? Helps with self-esteem. And what does this look like in a day? I've used this really powerfully with some private schools. And it's so simple. In the beginning of the day, when people come in, we don't know where people's lives are outside of school, right? We don't know the families that they're in. We don't know the challenges that they have. So imagine coming in and they get to start their day by saying, no matter what happened today, I'm a great kid. No matter what life throws at me today, I can handle it. I'm an amazing kid, right? And they can go through the tapping points and they can set their day up to say, you know what? This is your space. This is, no matter what's happening in life, this is your space to learn, to explore, to create new connections, to play, to focus. You deserve that. Imagine telling that kid that in the beginning of the day. You can do it before tests, 2 minutes before tests. They can even do it under their desk, right? Just tap before tests. It's proven to raise test scores. Calming after recess, little kids, right? They line up or they sit in a little line. They're all buzzing from playing with each other, but yet now you're going to tell them to sit in a seat for an hour. That's tough sometimes. So turn it into a game with the little kids. We say, okay, pop the bubbles, right? Or make a heart on your face. The tapping points kind of make a heart. Or be the monkey, right? They pound on their chest. There's points right here that we tap. Be the monkey, under arms, be the monkey, ooh, ooh, ooh. And they laugh and they think it's fun. They don't know that they're regulating their nervous system. It's fun play. It's exciting. Everyone's doing it. They don't feel out of place. So it's fun, right? And we can also set their day up as they go home. Again, we don't know what they're going into, but we want to create this safe space where they get to feel, right? So we can, again, practice nurturing that resilience pathway, that resilience circuit in their brain by before they leave for the day, that have a 2-minute little tapping session saying, no matter what I face today, I'm a great kid. Or, there's different scripts, but that gives the gist of the idea. So, man, how beautiful would that be to send people back into their day, knowing that there's a little hope, right? There's some possibility, whatever they face, it can still be powerful. They are empowered. They are no longer, suffocated by their circumstances any longer. That's big. Another tool I really want to bring up that is, it was developed by Dr. Laurel Mellon. It's called EBT, Emotional Brain Training. And its goal is to raise the brain's set point. Remember, we talk about a set point and where we stood as far as how we handle stress, and sometimes the medical field will assess that as far as your vulnerability to disease, right? How well can you handle stress? So the goal is to, drop your vulnerability to disease, raise your quality of life. And by treating the brain versus this stress, the symptom of stress overload, we get to better access producing lasting, beneficial outcomes that improve not only the length of life, but the quality of life, right? We don't want to just live long. We want to live and be, full of vitality. And quickly, we can do this quickly. I'm going to run through really quickly. She kind of states there's 5 brain states that we have, ranging from joyful, bliss, and happy to, and that's 1, and 5 is, disengaged, overwhelmed, like high level alert stress, right? And people are mostly in about 4 when normal life things happen. That's reactive, unbalanced. You're kind of in that reptilian part of your brain that's just survival mode, right? And again, like with EFT and emotional brain training, you access your emotion in the moment. So what are you feeling, right? And I'm going to use, just for an example, my feelings about feeling our feelings and getting these tools into the world. Okay, so we go through what's called the resilience pathway. It's anger, sadness, fear, and guilt. And then we spiral up from there. So I'm going to just give you an example, right? I'm angry I didn't have the tools. I can't believe I know this. Why isn't it more widespread? It ticks me off. So many people could be helped by this. Sadness, man. It's sad to me that people are suffering. I can't believe how many people are suffering right now. due to just their circumstances and feeling like they just don't have a way out. Fear, I'm kind of fearful that we'll never get out of it, right? People just aren't going to understand that they have the power, that they can do something. It's kind of scary to think of that. Guilt. I wish I would have done this sooner. I'm guilty. I feel bad that I couldn't help more people quicker, that I didn't know about this sooner. But it does empower me. It does kind of give me a sense of what I can do now, right? So now we spiral up. Grateful. I'm grateful that we finally discovered this. Cancer actually turned my life right side up. It exposed me to a whole new world. And I'm so grateful for that. Proud. I'm proud that I actually took the step. I had the courage to step out and actually just completely shift my life to follow what was really calling to me inside. Happy. I'm happy that people are open to hear this message today. I'm happy that this is something that we can bring to the world and it's actually effective. And it can really change people's lives. Okay, do you see that was spiraling down and spiraling up, right? And it's similar to EFT because we're in the emotion at the time. I might not be tapping, but we're in the emotion at the time. We're recognizing, we're acknowledging what we're feeling, right? And that's very different than rushing to joy. We're not pushing things away and saying, oh, just be happy, stick an ice cream cone in your mouth. And what do you have to worry about, right? We're not invalidating the things in our brain that are screaming, right? Anger, guilt, sadness, fear. They want attention. We've acknowledged that really quickly. That took a minute and a half, right? We've acknowledged those things, but we've also giving our brain options, possibilities. We're nurturing that resilience pathway. And every time we do it, that pathway gets stronger and stronger and stronger. And the pathways that we used to use that were very reactive, right? Those are starting to get pruned. Because your brain says, oh, okay, we don't have to do the reactive thing anymore. We have a new option. We didn't die. We survived. It's viable, right? Remember, its only job is to keep us alive. All right, that works. Now we have another possibility. Now those branches start to grow. Huh, heaven. So anyway, why is this? How does this work, right? Why do these things work? Why does EFT? What does EBT? Why does this stuff work? It bypasses our default actions really quickly, right? We go right to that emotion, right to the thing that's coming up. We bypass our default actions. We bypass those thoughts that we would normally have. And it gets us on this super highway at experiencing emotions, excuse me, quickly and effectively. Again, took 2 minutes, right? Boom, boom, boom. Just said what was on our mind. Didn't judge it at all. Just let it come out. And then this way we get to cycle up, right? We get to that ideal state, or at least to a higher set point, where we can start to access different parts of our brain that are more, more rational, right? We can start to think about things. We can start to problem solve. It completely short circuits overthinking, anxiety, the feeling of what's wrong with me. We stop ruminating, right? Oh, I can't believe, and we just sit and stew in the stuff that happened. We bypass all of that. And it kind of cuts, well, it doesn't kind of, it does. It cuts right to the strong, connected, powerful people that we were designed to be. That's powerful. That's super powerful. So that, again, as I circle back, this experience that I had with these survivors and caregivers, just gap where we're just not taught these things. It's we need these tools in the hands of our youth, new parents, of everyone, really. It's imperative for our health, our evolution, our kind of our advancement just as a human existing with each other. And I'm going to go to a Harvard study. It says, excuse me, Harvard School of Public Health and the University of Rochester, 2013, they showed that people that bottle up emotion, they increase their chance of premature death by more than 30%, and their risk of being diagnosed with cancer increased 70%. I can attest to that. Bottling up emotion, I know exactly why my body was in a state to be able to flick on those cancer genes. I in my being, I know this. In the age that we are, you guys can see this anywhere around the world because we are the most connected we've ever been technologically. Amazing things can happen, and I'm so grateful for that. But we're also in a massive connection crisis. I'm gonna share some a picture of the world to you. A few weeks ago, June 8th, 2022, here's a stat. There have been 27 school shootings this year with injuries or death. There have been, 119 school shootings since 2018, when the Education Week began tracking the incidents. People had to actually start tracking these incidents. There were so many. And the people that are showing up, just feeling lost, they're in their 20s, low 20s, teens. Cigna, the age range of people that feel most alone are 18 to 20. Most alone, 18 to 20. To corroborate, a nationwide survey led by the University of Manchester and the BBC found that 16 to 24-year-olds experience loneliness more often and more intensely than any other age group, more than the elderly, where we think, that's rampant through that population. 16 to 24 years old. These are people that are like starting college, starting jobs, and thousands around others in their peer group, and they feel completely alone. Suicide, second leading cause of death among people age 15 to 24 in the US. Nearly 20% of high school students report serious thoughts of suicide. That's 1 in 5 students. 9% have made an attempt to actually take their lives. These are big numbers to pay attention to, that we get to pay attention to. And this isn't to say, we're at doom's door or anything like that. It's just that there are cries being made, right? There's acts of love and cries out for love. There's a lot of crying out for love here. A lot of crying out to feel and be seen and be heard, to not be stigmatized for feeling the way we're feeling. And thankfully, there's a lot of non-invasive, free, accessible tools that have proven to be efficacious for varying populations, whether you're just born or 120. Breathing, movement, sound, EFT that we just talked about, EFT, emotional brain training, EBT. Those are accessible and literally at our fingertips. It's just up to us to, kind of be open to new ways. Things are weird until they're not. Someone told me that. I was actually explaining something to my husband. He said, things are just weird until they're not. And I kind of took that to heart, because sometimes we just don't understand. And I get that. So the whole purpose behind Tapped In for Life and my whole career shift and where my focus is now is to provide not just knowledge, but applicable tools, practical practices that youth, parents, educators, everyone really can use, because we're all connected. We all affect each other in this world. We all are kind of woven and cross over each other in this lifetime. And we don't to unravel 40 years of feelings and traumas and all these things to just shift our state of mind. It can happen quickly. You saw in 2 minutes. It can happen quickly. And not quickly in the way of rushing to joy, but like experience what we're feeling and then let it go, right? Open to possibilities. Feeling our feelings allows us to get in this higher state, and we can actually tap into our intuitive intelligence, this creative intelligence, where all kinds of beautiful things bloom and grow and develop, and where we connect. Feeling our feelings doesn't disconnect us from people. It actually connects us all. And that's powerful. So in leaving you today, let me just say, I know sometimes, especially when we feel stuff that's really tough, we feel shattered, we feel broken. But we were born whole. A client of mine, it's getting me teary, she said, I think I was born without the capacity for joy. That just hit me in my heart. To grow, she was in her 50s. To grow up feeling you don't have the capacity to experience joy. Woo! That was one to swallow. But we all have innate worth. We all have innate wisdom. We were designed for great purpose. There's a book that my My kids and I used to read The Bear Hunt all the time. On every page, through the book, they face these challenges. It says, can't go under it, can't go over it, gotta go through it. And that's what this is, right? We can't bypass, we can't push away, we gotta go through it. But it doesn't have to feel as incredibly overwhelming and incredibly painful and incredibly endless as it can feel sometimes. We literally were designed with healing at our fingertips, with healing in our breath, with healing in the sounds that we make, healing in the movement that we do. We were brilliantly designed to be able to heal all kinds of things. So here's to all of us tapping in, having some courage, and not be afraid to really feel what we're feeling. We're all here just walking each other home together, right? So here's to all of us. Thank you for joining me today.